Background. My wife, 28, and I, 30 male, and my brother and his wife went to visit our parents as we hadn't seen them in a while. My parents, 57, had a box of $300 ginseng in the fridge to be given as a gift for their close friend's wedding anniversary tomorrow. We know this because it came up in conversation during lunch. They also told us to help ourselves to anything in the fridge but not touch the ginseng for obvious reasons. The problem came when a few hours later, my parents called us in a panic, saying that they couldn't find the ginseng and asked if anyone had seen it. I didn't take it. At first, I thought they just misplaced it somewhere. However, they insisted that they both agreed on not moving it out of the fridge drawer for that exact reason. All of us denied taking it, and the conversation got more heated when my father started yelling that someone must have taken it since it only went missing when we came to visit. All of us continued to deny taking it, with my wife being really quiet, and my father said that if it didn't turn up soon, he'd have to have everyone's belongings checked. That was when my wife admitted that she'd taken it. Apparently it was some popular brand that my in-laws mentioned. She wanted to give it to them and she thought no one would notice since it was in an inconspicuous place in the fridge. My mother-in-law later called and said my parents overreacted over such an inconsequential thing and screamed at me that I was an idiot for not defending my wife. In my opinion, it wasn't a small thing. My wife stole hundreds of dollars from my parents and tried to lie her way out of it. While I agreed that my parents shouldn't have started yelling and accusing us, my wife was in the wrong for taking the ginseng in the first place. This situation has caused a lot of friction and we haven't spoken since coming home. Am I the idiot? Not the idiot. Turns out your parents' accusations were entirely accurate. Your wife is a thief who stole something of high value from your parents. She's literally lying, as you mentioned. This topic was brought up during lunch. It was an expensive gift, not supposed to be touched. Your wife's parents are the idiots for enabling this lying and stealing behavior. Also, OP's mother-in-law was the intended recipient of the stolen goods, so it's not a surprise she would scream at OP for getting in the way of her thieving daughter stealing for her benefit. This didn't happen in a vacuum. Sheesh, I don't even know how OP should address this. It's a big betrayal and a crime. Seriously, dude, are you comfortable living with such a person? She's clearly untrustworthy and selfish to the point of being pathological. I don't think I could look at my wife the same again. OP even posting this has me wondering how this behavior seems anywhere close to normal for him. If my wife stole and mother-in-law called to scold me, I'd yell right back at her. That is appalling. I wonder what else little Miss Sticky Fingers has helped herself to in other people's homes. Your wife literally stole from your parents. If my husband did that, I would consider discontinuing the marriage. I wouldn't even need to think about it. Instant divorce. Is your wife 6 years old? How stupid did she think your parents were that they wouldn't notice it was missing when they would literally look for it tomorrow? What else is missing at your folks or your home? I think I know who the culprit is. If she is willing to lie over a box of ginseng for such selfish reasons, she clearly doesn't love or respect me or my family, and I'd never be able to trust her about anything again. I, 34 male, hosted a dinner party with my wife, 32, for my entire family. It included my sister, 30, her wife, 33, and their 2 kids, a female kindergartner, a male toddler. There were also other family members, including my cousins, aunts, etc. My sister-in-law is a doctor. She absolutely loves that, and she is a bit of an arrogant person when it comes to that. For instance, she goes all out to comment on every supplement my mom takes and tells her which ones are necessary and which ones aren't, or told my wife about a few things when she was pregnant, despite not being her OBGYN, she's a cardiologist. After dinner, one of our youngest cousins, he started college just last year, was talking to sister-in-law about her career. She went into detail about it, how hard it was, how rewarding and special it was, and how no matter what others said, the stress they were under could not be compensated for financially. She was talking as if she was the only one with a job and others were wasting their time. This is how she is all the time. Finally, I had about enough of it. I told her the fact that she's a doctor doesn't make her better than anyone and that she was acting like she was the only one who did something that mattered here. She just laughed and asked me what my deal was. I called her out on her behavior. I said she's just a person and I don't care what she does for work. My sister lightened the situation but later called me an idiot for taking a hit at her wife. She told me she was disappointed in me. My wife is on my side. Was I the idiot? You are the idiot. Dude, the kid literally asked her about her job. Also, the horror, a certified doctor discusses the medicines their family takes. A certified female doctor. A certified queer woman doctor. My head is exploding. You just sound totally insecure. How embarrassing. The whole time I wondered if this would even be a post if the doctor was a brother-in-law instead. OP hasn't given us a single reason to think his sister-in-law actually thinks she's better than anyone else simply because she's a doctor. How telling that every example OP uses is a perfect example of a social situation where it's perfectly appropriate for a medical professional to share their knowledge. OP, she talked about normal career things in a conversation that didn't involve you. You reek of jealousy. Exactly. It's hilariously absurd that OP acts like someone with any medical degree wouldn't have basic medical knowledge about supplements and tips and suggestions for someone pregnant. I get the vibe that OP is in a health MLM and is mad that one of his victims, clients, was told not to buy the stuff they were selling. This is honestly just embarrassing for OP. OP clearly has some deep-rooted jealousy of his sister-in-law and is struggling to come up with anything reasonable to justify his deep resentment of her. Is it wrong? I want to know more. Like seriously, OP, lie down on the couch and relax. Tell us how you really feel. Are you for real, OP? A relative is asking a relative about career advice so they can make a more informed decision, and that upsets you? Or does it upset you because you're not the one being sought out for advice here? Your young cousin has an important decision to make regarding choosing a degree path and future career trajectories, and it upsets you that your sister-in-law is giving more than grunts and one-word answers. That's ridiculous. I disagree. As a doctor, I can totally see the sister-in-law being annoyed as heck. Some doctors just have to use every waking moment to humble brag or brag. So everyone's the idiot here. It's annoying. Doctors can be smug and know-it-all, and I wouldn't trust a cardiologist making opinions about matters about OB. Good doctors know their lanes and are honest about it, but this wasn't the place to call her out. I, male 45, and my daughter, teen, live with my parents. Basically, my daughter and I are going through a tough time right now. My wife, her mom, passed away 2 months ago. Our lease for our apartment recently ended, so I figured we could take some time to find a new place. My daughter has a pink bunny stuffed animal her mom and I got when we found out she was a girl. She's always had some attachment to this stuffed animal to the point she needs it to sleep. Since her mom passed though, she's extra emotional and needs it slightly more, which is completely understandable. It brings her comfort. Well, when I was at work, my daughter was home and my mom asked her to take out the trash multiple times. Well, my daughter didn't listen, and my mom was about to take her phone away when my daughter said she didn't care. Well, my mom noticed her attachment to her stuffed bunny recently and decided to take that away with her phone. Well, it led to my daughter having a panic attack. She was very upset and anxious when I came home. I tried asking her what was wrong, but she wouldn't talk to me. Finally, when I asked my mom, she told me. I told her to give me the stuffed animal. I gave it to my daughter, and after a little bit she calmed down enough and fell asleep. Now, usually I would trust my mom to punish my daughter when I'm not there. What she did wasn't right, but my mom's punishment wasn't right either. I told her this, but she got mad, saying my daughter is a teen and shouldn't have that type of attachment to the stuffed animal. And I'm just setting her up for failure. I can't stop thinking about that, so am I the idiot? Also, my daughter and I both are in therapy now. So far, my daughter likes her therapist. Not the idiot. I'm 61. I have a little lamb my favourite aunt gave to me when I was 5. She's gone, it's still here. It's such an important reminder of someone who truly loved me. It's the only thing I have left from my childhood. It has soaked up my tears many times as a child and as an adult, almost like it was her shoulder. Your mother needs to learn the difference between removing a luxury and taking away a treasure of the heart. Hug your kid for us, okay? That sums it up perfectly. Her mom died 2 years ago. The daughter is not extra emotional, she's grieving. Her whole life collapsed and your mother treated it as if it was nothing. So that bunny is not just a bunny, but for your daughter it represents her last link to her mother. The change in both your lives is massive, and your mother didn't help here. My folks would have called this sticking your finger in someone's wound. It's cruel, nothing less. I might say your mother could use a cardiologist to check if she actually has a heart. What your mom did was awful. You need to protect your daughter by getting her out of that space and into a place where she feels safe. I'm sorry for your loss. I'm also sorry to inform you that you don't have the time to find a new place that you thought you did. Your daughter needs to feel safe in her own space so she can cope better now more than ever. Hurry up and move. I'm an esthetician. Some of the services I provide are waxing and facials. The pictures on my website and in my waiting room desperately need to be updated. So I asked my niece, 19, if I could get pictures of her in exchange for a few free waxes and facials. My niece is a beautiful girl with nearly perfect skin and thick dark eyebrows. She's also part Middle Eastern and has a lot of those features, which is important to me since most of my clients are Middle Eastern women. My daughter, nearly adult, heard about me using my niece's pictures and asked why I didn't ask her. I tried to be vague and say niece's skin colour and features match what I was looking for and fit my clients better, but she kept pressing and refused to take the answers I gave her. I finally snapped and told her that I won't be using her, she doesn't take care of her skin, and it shows that because drawn-on eyebrows will not help me at all. She started crying, thought I called her ugly, and said I favoured my niece over her. She refused to talk to me and she got my parents on her side. They think I should have done both the girls or neither because it's unfair, but this is business and not everything is fair. Am I the idiot for calling my niece prettier than my daughter? Make it clear on your website that it's only worth booking your services if your skin is already nearly perfect. Of course you're the idiot. Your daughter isn't stupid, so she wasn't accepting your initial answers. Then you snapped at her and confirmed her worst fears. Congratulations. This might be the first time I've witnessed the birth of a young woman's insecurities at the hands of her toxic mom. Agreed. Also, notice how OP gushed over her niece on how she looked. Very telling indeed. Judging by OP's attitude towards her daughter, I'm sure this wasn't the first time she said something horrible to her. This typical mom is disappointed in her daughter's appearance. My sister was the skinny, pretty kid and I was the chubby personality kid. I haven't talked to my mom much since I was 15. She gave me body and food issues up the wazoo. She's the worst, much like this idiot mom. She doesn't care for her skin, and it shows because drawn-on eyebrows will not help. Wow. Given your job, couldn't you have taught her to take good care of her skin and how to do her eyebrows? You could have made it a bonding thing. Your daughter will not forgive this or forgive you. There were 100 better ways to handle this. Exactly. You had so many other options, like you didn't want to exploit your own daughter, she's under 18, you needed, as you said, a more Middle Eastern skin tone, or even, God forbid, you could have acted like the actual adult and just said, that's my final decision and I'm not changing it. But not everything is fair in business. In 10 or 20 years, your daughter will parrot this back at you when you say it isn't fair she doesn't visit. My daughter Cameron is very artistic. Cam likes doodling and using certain online animation apps. Still, her preferred way to express herself is through street art, such as graffiti. I found an art class that specializes in graffiti for Cameron, as well as get her connected with specific zones where graffiti is allowed. She's staying out of trouble and it makes her happy, so I don't see any issue with it and encourage her hobby. Some context about my sister-in-law, Sydney, is that she has 2 daughters, my nieces Eden and Ava, and her husband Benjamin is not involved with the girls at all. My brother-in-law is the kind of guy who brags about he's such a man because he's never changed any diapers or attended parent-teacher meetings, and Sydney does it all. He's seemingly oblivious that this doesn't impress nor earn him respect from other fathers his age. Sydney constantly excuses Benjamin's lack of involvement with Eden and Ava. Things along the lines of how it's her responsibility as the mother, or that since he makes more money, it's not his responsibility to step up as their father. Sydney seems to have internalized misogyny herself. I bring all that up because Sydney's become very vocal about her disapproval of Cam's graffiti hobby, and many of her complaints seem misogynistic. Things like how Cameron is a young teen, becoming a young woman, and must start acting like it, and that I should move her into classes for a more appropriate, feminine form of art like watercolors. I told Sydney that unless Cam wanted to, I wouldn't change her art class or discourage her graffiti. She's staying out of trouble and it makes her happy. I see no issue with her hobby. Sydney called me irresponsible and said to think about the potential partners Cam would attract with a hobby like graffiti. She then said that if Cameron keeps doing graffiti, she will eventually hang around a bad crowd and get into drugs. I told Sydney that she doesn't have room to criticize the way I support Cam's passions when her own husband is barely involved with Eden and Ava. Sydney and I got into an argument where I admittedly was yelling back at her. My wife had us de-escalate, told Sydney off and we left. Once we got home and things cooled off, my wife explained that she didn't regret telling Sydney off over the substances comment, but throwing Benjamin's lack of involvement in Sydney's face was just a low blow on my end, and that 2 wrongs don't make a right since I could have addressed Sydney's comment without bringing the situation with Benjamin into it. I do see my wife's side and realise that bringing up Benjamin was a low blow. However, the two friends I brought it up to said that Sydney had it coming and that, in a way, I helped Sydney because she needed to look at herself and her family dynamics in the mirror. Now I'm conflicted. Am I the idiot? Not the idiot. Watercolours and suitably feminine art. Bringing Benjamin into it was a perfectly equal blow. She's taking a shot at you for supporting your daughter as her father, while the father of her children doesn't do a thing to support his own children, aside from throwing money at them. I disagree. You should have said, "Thank you for caring about my daughter. I'm happy for her to do this and I'm confident that it's safe. I don't think it'll expose her to danger." I'm glad we can have these open chats about our kids because I've been concerned for a while about the impact that your husband's neglect of Eden and Ava might have on them. I'm worried that they don't have a strong bond with him and that in the future they might exhibit some worrying attention-seeking behaviours from the males in their lives. Many girls with daddy issues seek the wrong kind of attention. She needs to worry about the effects her husband will have on their daughters. I suspect had it gone down that way, she may have shut up. I doubt Benjamin could even name one of his daughter's hobbies. The differences in how Cameron and her cousins will grow into adults will be heartbreaking. Sydney needed a slap off her pedestal. It's always entertaining when people don't look at their own life and try to control others. Sydney needs to learn some hard truths if she's going to have any hope of compensating for Benjamin's disinterest and raising even vaguely well-rounded daughters.